Hi there, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Shane and I'm working on refurbishing my late 60s David Brown 990 tractor. This is going to be an update video of sorts. In an earlier video I mentioned that this is an early 990 Select-O-Matic tractor and it doesn't have a full flow paper filter at the bottom of the sump for the hydraulic oil. It has the earlier setup of just a metal screen. This is the metal screen here. The filter is up on the axle and it's called a bypass filter. It takes oil from the bypass, the lube pipe coming out of the valve chest and filters it through that. Both Barry and John left comments on the cleanup video where they say it might be a good idea to switch out to a full flow filter, to a full flow paper filter, instead of the current earlier setup with the screen. I really hadn't thought about that until they mentioned it, but it could be a good idea for those of you that have screens that are basically not repairable. So I posted on the David Brown Tractor Forum with a question on the possibility of converting over to the full flow filter and housing. I would normally put the post up here on the screen somewhere, but the club site was hacked recently and the forum has been restored from a version back in 2018. The data hasn't been restored. I'm hoping they can get that all back up and running and get the posts back from 2018 forward. Lots of knowledge was lost otherwise, but I hope they can get that back up and running. So normally I would put a post up here showing you what I was posting on the David Brown Tractor Forum, but I can't right now because it doesn't exist. So anyway, Oleg replied that as long as the screen isn't broken, the older style of screen and bypass filter, it works well, and the only issue will be the possibility of more dirt in the bypass valve over time. I'm cleaning this out, I've got it repaired. The tractor worked great with this setup for, I guess, over 50 years now, so my thinking is that I'll keep it original for at least the foreseeable future on this. I did have a hole in the screen, which I've repaired by soldering it up. I posted pictures on the forum of this repair job, and DB2D said that he'd use it, so he's one of the experts there, and I've trusted his opinion, so I'm good with that. So my screen is good to go now. So I actually repaired it. Yay! Lance, yes, repairing stuff does make you feel better. It's a whole lot more satisfying to repair stuff, and it's cheaper too. So we'll see how it goes. In the future, if I do want to convert over to the full flow conversion, I can. For those of you with an early Select-O-Matic like mine over here, it is possible to switch over to a full flow housing and hydraulic filter. In Oleg's comment on the forum, he posted a link to the filtration section of the David Brown Parts site where they actually have a conversion kit. A word of caution though, there is a difference between the conversion kit and the newer style full flow paper filter. I happen to have one of the newer style paper filters here, and as you see here, it has a hole in the bottom. This is where a valve and a magnet go. The conversion filter that's available for these tractors does not have this hole in the bottom. It's just the housing, the filter, and the gasket in the kit. So you can't use the generally available full flow filters for the conversions using the David Brown Parts conversion kit. My tractor does not have the vacuum sender and the pieces in the electrical to use that valve or magnet piece that goes in that hole for the regular newer model tractors. So it's just something to be aware of, that if you do this conversion, the filter will be different. The one like I have here will not work with a conversion since it has that hole in the bottom. I'll show you a picture here on the screen somewhere of the plate and the valve assembly that's on the David Brown Parts website, just to show you what goes in the hole for the newer style tractors. Most of those newer style tractors have that, have those pieces and parts in the full flow housing. Mine doesn't. For the hydraulic cylinder, I bought this home with 220 grit stones. I use those to lightly, very lightly, hone out with the coarser grit stones. Then I also ordered a set of 320 grit stones that I followed that up with. I then used 600 grit paper on a pad, and then followed that up with 1200 grit paper on a pad to smooth out the bore. And it got really smooth, and I'm very happy with how that turned out. I'm very happy. It got most of the little corrosion and many of the scratches and scrapes in there, the deep ones, at least knocked down a little bit. You still got a few scratches in there. I did not take off much at all from the bore. All I'm doing was polishing it up and getting it back in shape, I guess. But thank you so much to Barry, Dr. J, Shunta Wolf, the guys that commented on that video, giving me all kind of tips and tricks and things for honing out a bore on a cylinder. It was the first time I'd ever done it. And so I watched a lot of YouTube videos and I got it done. It's a pretty easy process. So thank you a lot for that, guys. For the piston, I used 600 grit wet dry paper. Again, plenty of lube, plenty of oil. We used 600 grit paper with a pad on it. Just smoothed it out, and then I switched over to 1200 grit, getting all the burrs off, getting it nice and smooth. Everything worked out quite nice with that as well. I'm very happy. Everything looks to be smooth. We're good to go, I think. I also ordered a new piston ring, a new piston O-ring, and the composite backer this time. When I did this last year, I put the leather backer on, and I think one of the reasons everything is so scratched up in here, again, I think Shunta Wolf made this comment, if I'm not mistaken, that, or maybe it was Dr. J, I don't know, I have to go look, that the leather backer disintegrating in here would have caused all of the scrapes and scratches and all this kind of stuff, and that there was no leather backer when I took all this out last year to fix it up, to see if I could get this to seal up better in the bore. The leather backer that was on there originally had probably disintegrated, and that's probably what caused all of the scratches and scrapes down in that bore. So this time I went with the regular O-ring that I got these from David Brown Parts, the O-ring to seal up the piston, and the composite backer. We'll see how that works. I also ordered, thanks to David Monkhouse, the actual gasket, a kind of a plastic gasket that goes on the back of the hydraulic cylinder here, between the hydraulic cylinder and the axle casing. I went on his post on the David Brown forums for his restoration and looked to see, it showed his picture. You can't see it now because of the hack. His post is probably gone forever. Lord, I hope it come back. But all that knowledge and stuff was lost. David, I am so sorry that, man, all that work you did on that restoration post. Start a YouTube channel. Less likely to go away eventually, I guess. But anyway, I did buy this to put it on the hydraulic cylinder to reinstall it. I tried making a gasket. Let's see, which camera should I put it on? I'll put it here, I think. The edges of the inside of the hydraulic cylinder are not really sharp enough to cut your own gasket cleanly. As you can see here, I messed it up pretty badly, especially the small holes right there. I messed that up. And so I decided that I would just purchase a gasket for that. David said that he had some good luck with that. He did say that he had to modify the inside of his, and it looks like I'll have to do the same here to get it to slip over the cylinder outer walls. Anyway, I hope it fits once I get it modified. Okay, one thing I do want to mention here is that if there is something actually broken on your tractor related to the hydraulic cylinder or the cover here, if the casting is actually broken, or this is gone beyond all recoverability, whatever. You cannot replace individual pieces on your tractor with this setup. These two pieces are a matched set. They are a matched pair. You cannot replace just one. If this latch housing breaks or whatever, if the cylinder bore needs to be redone in some way and you're thinking about replacing it, you have to replace both of these as a set. They are machined fit, and this bore is drilled, I think, while these are together. So if you try to replace it with a piece that is if you replace this cover with a piece that's not matched up with this back end, you'll be out of round here. Just something to note if your tractor is having some really bad problems with these two components or these two pieces. I also do want to mention that I did buy a gasket for the sump cover for this tractor. I thought about cutting one myself, but I got to looking at some of the dimensions on the Case IH website, or maybe Messick's or somewhere. I got to looking at some of the dimensions, and it showed that this was a fairly thick gasket. Yeah, so this is fairly thick. It's a whole lot thicker than the paper material I bought. And if you remember from the previous video where I took off the sump cover and all that, there's a ridge that goes around the inside of that sump cover that I would imagine presses into this gasket. So I went ahead and ordered an actual gasket for this. All right, I think that does it for some of the stuff that I wanted to update you guys on. I do want to say it's been really fun to see the people from places all over the world watching and commenting on my videos, places like Finland and Norway, Australia, Canada, USA, and so many more. It's been humbling to see the interest in some of this stuff. Thank you for the interest in all of my videos here and watching me fumble and bumble my way through getting this thing fixed up. I really appreciate all of you. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.